gardeners. It's September, so for most of us, it's time to start making preparations if we want to plant garlic in the fall. This is garlic that I grew last year. This variety is called Inchellium Red, and this variety is called Pescadero Red. Both of these are soft neck varieties of garlic, which is the type that's recommended for growing in warm climates. And for the past few weeks, I've been keeping these garlic bulbs in paper bags in my refrigerator, and I'm going to explain why I'm doing that. In order for a garlic clove to develop into a bulb, it needs to be exposed to temperatures between 40 to 50 degrees for 6 to 12 weeks. Since we don't have that much cold weather during our winter in Florida, it's advised that we cold treat our garlic before planting it. We do that by putting it in the refrigerator for at least 6 to 8 weeks. This is called vernalization. Also, just note that we put it in the refrigerator and not the freezer. So the minimum time period that you would want to vernalize your garlic before planting is 6 to 8 weeks in the refrigerator. However, in doing some research online, I came across some reports of vernalized garlic breaking vernalization in really warm climates like we have in Florida. So in other words, even though the garlic had been cold treated for 6 to 8 weeks, the weather got so warm while the garlic was growing that the vernalization was essentially reversed and the bulbs stayed a lot smaller as a result. So to prevent devernalization from happening in a warm climate, it's recommended to vernalize the garlic in the refrigerator for 10 to 12 weeks instead of only 6 to 8 weeks. If you live in a colder part of Florida that typically doesn't have very warm spring temperatures, then you may be able to get away with the 6 to 8 weeks of vernalization. But for those of us that live in areas that may get really hot temperatures in the spring, it's a good idea to go ahead and vernalize for closer to the 10 to 12 week window. Since I live in Central Florida and we do get some really hot weather in the spring, I kept my garlic in the refrigerator for 10 to 12 weeks before I planted it outside to make sure I was going to get full-sized bulbs. The instructions I received with my garlic order said to plant the garlic outside 2 to 4 weeks before the coldest time of year. So in my area, the coldest time of year is usually the last week in December and the first 2 weeks of January. So that means my ideal time to plant garlic would be late November or early December. So for me to vernalize the garlic for 10 to 12 weeks before planting means that I should be putting the garlic in the fridge around the beginning of September through the beginning of October at the very latest. Last year I was behind schedule and I didn't get to plant my garlic until the end of December and the first week of January. But thankfully, even though I planted late, I still got a decent harvest at the end of April. This year, I'm planning to plant my garlic in late November, and I've already had it in my refrigerator in paper bags for the past few weeks. I'll keep it in the fridge for a full 10 to 12 weeks before planting it outside. Here's a few general tips about growing garlic. First of all, you want to keep the roots cool so that the bulbs don't mature too quickly. If they mature too fast, then they'll be smaller. Some ways to help your garlic roots stay cool are to use plenty of mulch on the garlic and to try to get the roots to grow into the deeper layers of the soil where the soil will be cooler. You can help the garlic roots grow deeper by planting the garlic cloves further down, like around 4 inches deep. And also watering deeply but not often will help the roots grow down further. Plant garlic in soil that has good drainage, and mixing compost into the soil before planting is also recommended. I also put compost into each hole at planting time. Garlic will appreciate some high nitrogen fertilizer during its vegetative growth stage in the early springtime. You can tell that garlic is ready to be harvested when the top 4 or 5 leaves are still 50% green, but the lower leaves are completely dry. As I mentioned before, Soft neck garlic varieties do best in warm climates. Creole garlic varieties in particular are recommended for growing in Florida, but there are other types that can be grown here as well. Some of the most commonly recommended garlic varieties for Florida are Creole Red, Pescadero Red, Burgundy, and Ajo Rojo. But there are many more that would probably do well here. It might be fun to experiment with several different varieties. If you do an internet search of soft neck garlic, you'll find many different varieties that you could try.